And then,
Okay.
All of you
Okay,
ready?
go ahead.
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please remain standing for a minute, silent reflection. For those of you that know Dale Walters had passed away. Mr. Walters was on our Civil Service Board for a lot of years and other things in the city of Sunbury. Take a few seconds, please. Thank you. Roll call.
Singh,
Here.
Shipman,
Here.
Reichner,
Here.
Henry,
Here.
Ister.
Any audience comment on any specific agenda items in front of you? Sunoco lease, Mr. Eisner.
Yes, I'm referring to Mr. Kula. He has the information and the breakout on the schedule for the fee schedule for the Sunoco year 2035.
Mike?
Michael?
The last council meeting I attended, council passed a motion that a few changes be made to proposed lease and that be submitted to Sunoco for signature. And that was done. I sent that down to Sunoco. There was one minor typo. We had a rent being paid monthly rather than annually. So that correction was made, but aside from that, the lease was approved by Sunoco, and that copy has been supplied to council, and basically it's up for council's consideration. Accompanying that, there is a lease schedule that breaks down the amount. The original lease currently for 2014, where Sunoco currently is $5,500. Starting 2015, that goes up to $6,000. That increases $500 every 5 years. With the amendment the council has been considering, the additional parcel that goes beyond, it extends the area available to Sunoco. Assuming that all goes through, the rent for the additional parcel for 2015 would be $10,206, and then increase at 3% per year. So when you finally get to the end of the lease in 2035, the total combined lease amount would be $26,433. So, but I believe all council has both a copy of the lease as signed by Sunoco, as well as the lease schedule breaking down the payments for the original and the additional parcel.
Okay, so everything that was, as you said, everything was addressed that we brought up in our last meeting.
Correct.
Well, I need a motion to accept this agreement and then give me the authority to sign it.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ister, Singh,
Yes.
Shipman,
Chester Street project.
Yes, due to the scheduling with the Thanksgiving this week and deer season next week, we discussed with the engineer, and we brought, step back the bid opening from the 3rd to the 10th of December at 3 p.m. here in City Hall. After we decided on this evening, then the contractor, which I picked up the prints and so forth, to be notified. We basically have an extra week to work on it. Also, though, this evening, if everybody agrees on that, we want to make sure that we have authorization to proceed, have final decision made on the 22nd. We don't want to lose that 1 month period, or excuse me, 1 week period while we're getting things closed out for the month of December. If I was talking to Lee on the phone today, he said we can always take in the notice to intend to award. We can do that once we open them on the 10th to the contractor. If I talked to Michael this afternoon, what we'd like to take and have one of those folks here on the 10th, as soon as they're opened up, give them the packets, take them and review them right away. So within 2 days, Mike, I think within 2 days you can review those. You know,
I block some time on my schedule and make it happen, Jim.
Okay, thank you. So that way we can turn around, notify the contractor, so he can get his bonding together, his insurances, and so forth. We have I think we have every permit we need to start construction. We hope they can have the, providing the weather, we're gonna try to get them started January the 1st, as soon as they're gonna start working on the project. Okay, is there any questions? Stepping it back that week.
I have a question.
Yes, John?
I understand from correspondence from Jamie that the project is now not quite 100% funded, is that correct?
We're having a shortfall of one, I don't have it in front of me, John, I'm gonna take a wild guess, 175, does that number sound about right?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the prospects that we will find funding for that before we have to pay the bill.
Well, there's a couple things there, John. First of all, there's a 15% rider in there for the unknowns, and that's roughly 300 and some thousand, projected cost of 2.2. And then also, anything under 2.2, that takes out of that 175. You follow me, John?
I do, okay.
Okay? And then also, like I said, there's over 300,000 built in there for something unexpected. And then the next thing is, we hold 10%, and that we hold that for 1 year after the project's done. So we actually have, then that means we're in 2016.
Okay,
So we would have a time period in there to find the necessary funds if necessary.
okay, that's what I needed, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Any other questions? If not, I'd like to make a motion to proceed on this.
Second.
Henry.
Yes.
Ister.
yes.
Persing.
Yes.
Shipman. Reichtner.
Yes.
I just wanted to touch base real quick on the redevelopment authority. Been a pretty busy month last time, and the updates of following properties have been acquired, so there's 7 new properties: 245 Chestnut, 314 South 3rd, 216, 218 Spruce, 113 Chestnut, 218 North Front, 822 South River, 149 Church. It's complete. We just completed the closing to 3 Spruce Street, Catawissa Avenue, Reagan Street. There's 2 pending: 325, 327 Market, 608 South Front. Auctions in January will be 149 Church, 216 Spruce, 113 Chestnut, 218 North Front, 822 South River, 414, 416 North 2nd, 144 South Street. And there's also 5 other ones currently in eminent domain. So as you can see, the redevelopment authority is moving along at quite a pace. Things are happening, and for you people that are that we have your emails, you want to stay in contact for the bidding, the office will let you know, usually like about a week or 10 days ahead of time, and let everybody know when the advertisements for the auctions are, so the more people we get there, the more opportunity people get to invest. Also, Megan, did you have anything specific for SRI before we get into new business?
No, just that, well, there's a lot going on over this course of this month in general throughout the city for the holidays. Just reminders about all that, if I understand correctly. I hope I don't do this off the top of my head. So, the Frozen event at the ice skating rink, I think, is that listed? Is Saturday. And then there is also Santa in the Park, which that should be now online or available at the city office, an actual schedule for Santa. The Late Night Shoppers Night is December 4th from 6 to 9. The Santa Parade is, of course, this Friday at 6:30 p.m. I guess lineups at 6 p.m. And then, what else do we have going on? Oh, and the windows we painted over the course of this next week too, for trying to have them ready in time for the parade and Late Night Shoppers. So a lot going on, and also preparations for New Year's. So everybody mark that in the calendars.
And I wanted to throw up there a thank you for the people that helped us get the Christmas decorations up. That was a long Saturday. In fact, we should have saved it to Sunday somehow, because I think it was 30 degrees warmer. But anyway. New business. First reading of 2015 budget. John.
Okay, I'd like to start out by giving the citizens of Sunbury a little explanation as to where we're at and why before we actually launch into the budget. Our budget basically started out 3 a $400,000 shortfall. We had several reasons for that. The effects of Obamacare on our employee health insurance this year, between the new regulations and the increased premiums, amount to almost $200,000. And we've had a variety of other increases in costs as inflation is beginning to boost some of our costs. And so we started out looking at a budget spread of $400,000. We had meetings with each department and with our city clerk, our city treasurer, and his staff to try to look at it. And we looked at every line item in the budget. We made adjustments as small as $500 to the line items to be sure that there was no fat left in this budget. That brought us down at the end of last week to, or last Monday actually, to a shortfall of $365,000. And so we are unfortunately presenting tonight an austerity budget. And we can close that gap one of two ways. We can increase taxes, or we can lay off some city staff. Neither one of those are good solutions. This is not a good time to be raising taxes, and certainly it's a difficult decision to have to lay people off who have been good employees and have served the city well. So this budget is not a happy day. This budget is probably as tough as the first budget I did back in 2003, and every bit as painful. But with that said, we have closed that budget gap over the last week by doing a number of things to make those changes. Essentially, we are recommending in this budget an increase of 2 mills of property tax. 2 mills will cost the average homeowner somewhere around $25 or $30 a year in additional taxes. However, businesses will suffer even more than that because the buildings that they inhabit are worth substantially higher. Higher homes of higher value also will be more, but the average property will be will see a $25 to $30 annual raise. If you are a person who has rentals, that will apply to each rental, unfortunately. We've done some budget cuts. We have had several requests to hire additional staff. Those requests have been eliminated from the budget. The police department has asked for a new cruiser. That has been eliminated from the budget. And the most difficult part of this is that we will have to lay off a couple of people. Right now, we have scheduled to lay off 2 people in the police department. The savings in laying 2 police officers off, including pension and other benefits, amount to about $232,000 for the next fiscal year. It's not a decision that we've taken lightly, but we have to have a vote tonight, and we have to vote on a balanced budget. Unlike the federal government, who can run $1 trillion deficits, the city of Sunbury cannot run a $1 deficit. So this is a beginning budget. We now have 30 days to massage this budget. We can raise taxes more than we have. We hate to do that, but we also hate to cut staff. So what we're voting on tonight is a preliminary budget. It's painful on both ends. We've made cuts that are beyond what we really want to make, and we raised taxes that we really didn't want to, but it's the only way that we can find at this point to close that budget deficit. So I'm presenting a budget tonight. The total budget numbers are in balance $4,327,000 of revenue. Expense $4,326,999.42 of expenses, and we have a 58-cent budget surplus. Any questions?
When's the final vote, John, the 22nd?
We can go all the way to the 29th, the last Monday night in December, so we can go all the way to the 29th if we need to.
Okay. everybody understand, tonight we have to pass something to balance it. What that means is, we just have to pass the first reading. Between now and the December 29th or 22nd, whenever we pass the second reading, we can make all the changes we want. Hopefully, we can make some changes. But we need to pass something tonight. If you agree with it or don't, I don't know if there's anybody here that actually agrees with it, but speaking for myself, I know I don't. Again, we need to pass something tonight, and then we have, there's at least, what, 3 or 4 more meetings, John, you have
We
scheduled?
have at least 2 more meetings, and probably 3. We have already scheduled budget meetings for December the 8th at 5 o'clock ahead of our next council meeting. Then a second budget meeting on December 15th at 6 o'clock. Then, if necessary, we can have a final budget meeting on the 29th at 6 o'clock as well.
Okay.
And one thing I wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, is that we know that the people will be disappointed, but I am personally interested in receiving comments. So if people want to comment on this budget, just if you would call the city clerk's office and just leave your comment for me, I guarantee you that I will read every one.
Okay, is that a motion, John?
I make that as a motion.
Need a second?
I'll second
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Shipman,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
First reading of the tax levy, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, to go along with that budget, we have got to increase tax revenues. So the ordinance that we are passing tonight increases the millage on the general revenue budget from 23 mills to 25 mills of property tax for every structure in the city.
And again, this can be changed. This
Yes, it
is
can.
first reading, yeah. And I'll take that as a motion, John?
I make that as a motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Persing,
Yes.
Shipman,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ister,
Does anybody have a on the agenda? Okay, Rick, you want to bring that up?
you can read it.
We found out, about 2 months ago, we were at some state training, and we found out that we need to have a separate solicitor for our zoning board. Our city solicitor cannot do both of them, because if the city appeals a situation, you can't represent both sides, the city and the zoning board both. So, whereas from time to time, City of Sunbury needs legal counsel for planning meetings, zoning board, and joint hearing boards. Whereas the PA Municipalities Planning Code and Code of the City of Sunbury specifically appoints a city solicitor to serve as legal counsel for planning meetings. Whereas the PA Municipalities Planning Code specifically excludes the city solicitor from fulfilling the role of legal counsel for zoning board and joint hearing board meetings. Therefore, we had contacted Attorney Jim Bathgate to see if he would be our solicitor for the zoning board, and he had done other legal work for us in the past, and he agreed that he would do he would be the solicitor for our zoning board, and he's affiliated with Weiss, and Saylor. So I make a motion that the council approves James Bathgate as our solicitor for the zoning board, and we use him as mediator.
Before we vote, should I just ask what would his rate be?
Same as it is before, same as everyone else's was. I think it's $150 an hour.
Okay.
And he doesn't, this isn't like every meeting, like Mike Robinson was the old one, but Mike hasn't.
You guys have been practicing for
Yeah,
years.
for years, so it shows how often we use this. We just have to have somebody listed, but we clearly, so it's not like he's gonna be there every meeting or anything. So that, do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Shipman,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Ister, Persing,
Yes. Free downtown parking will start on November 28th and run to January 5th. That's every metered street that we have, I guess. Megan, everybody knows that?
Mhm.
We have the resolution, all the uses. motion for free parking November 28th to January 5th.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Eister? Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Resolution public nuisance.
All right,
Diane?
the redevelopment authority met last week, and we have 2 properties to recommend to the city council for declaring them public nuisances. The city council acts as the board of health, and this resolution would hereby declare that the properties that I'll read in a second are public nuisances, and that it will be served by the code enforcement office and posted on the property. The 2 properties for tonight are 601 Edison Avenue and 321 Chestnut Street.
Okay, motion to accept.
I'll make the formal motion on these properties.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Henry?
Yes.
Eister?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
There's an opening on the Civil Service Board. It was recommended Toby Lytle to fill that spot. I'll make a motion that we accept Toby.
Eister?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
We'll try to get that list together of everything for next year, the next meeting, and everybody have them, like, in January, the rest of them. On the agenda, we have owner-occupied health issues. The reason I asked to put that on there is, you know, the redevelopment authority, as we talk every meeting, has been very aggressive, and a lot of things are happening, but there still seems to be properties out there that don't get on our list. You know, the one up on Edison Avenue, if you read about the cats, and then after the code enforcement, you know, Mike and Joe showed me what that looked like inside. So if you live anywhere in the city of Sunbury and you're living next door to a house that's been vacant for years, you know, just for the heck of it, just give us a call. Call down to the mayor's office or the code office, just to get that on the list so we can make sure that we're not missing any. It doesn't matter who owns a property, anything like that, but that clearly, I mean, there's probably a reason they left the cats in there is probably to take care of all the rodents that were running around, because the stuff is piled up in there 3 foot deep. And you know, nobody should have that in their neighborhoods, and we all know what that brings. So all I'm asking is if you live, like I say, if you live next door to a house, you see no activity going on for years and years, and you know, just give us a call. That's all we're asking. It's nothing more than we just want to double check it's on our list, so we can make sure, you know, it's one of those we're working towards to maintain, improve your neighborhoods.
Joe's working on that.
Approval to pay invoices, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have $103,560.20 in general fund invoices and $470.78 in liquid fuels invoices. I make a motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Eister?
Audience comment? Yes, ma'am.
What is HARB, H-A-R-B, that you guys talked about?
Historic Architectural Review Board.
Again?
Historic Architectural Review Board. In other words, if there's a property in the historic district that they want, let's say they want to put a new facade on the front, they would bring that to the HARB board, unlike, let's say Miller Street, for example. You know, if it's in the historic district, there's different rules and regulations that things must be done to keep the historic value of the properties. So you would bring that to the code office, would take that to the HARB board, and then they would approve, and that's what we approve once in a while, is people's front porches or new windows, and, you know, can you put plastic windows in, maybe you have to put wood windows in, and the code office can get more specific about it. That's what it's about, to try to keep the historical integrity of that built property.
Okay, but when you approve that, the city isn't paying for it?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's-
It's all right. That's just the board saying, here, we agree that this is okay,
Okay.
and we're asking for the city's okay to do it. And that's why we give them that authority. Okay? Any other discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Regina Russell, community activist. Will Mr. Bathgate receive a job description, and when can it be viewed by the public?
He knows what his job description is to show up and be like the solicitor for that one he's called.
So no one has a job description on the council, and Mr. Bathgate won't have one
To be
either? A
a
job
solicitor?
description.
he knows what he has, he's a special, he's a lawyer, he's a special counsel.
So he's a consultant for the city.
Call him what you want, we're not paying him, he's paid to do specific things at the zoning hearing board hearings when they have them. When that board needs him, they will call him to show up at a meeting, other than that, they meet monthly and,
Thank you.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Could I ask you, are the city crime figures increasing or decreasing at the moment?
I haven't looked at them recently, you mean like in the last week or last month or
Well,
yesterday or what?
the last period, are they going up or going down?
Well, the only thing I can tell you, from the last year, they're all below what they were in 2013. It was in the paper last week.
We'll get the updated list for you for the next meeting.
I don't know what the trend was at the moment, because now we're getting rid of police officers, and it seems to me that crime is increasing in the city, not going down.
It's a good point, but I don't have the exact figures in front of me.
And also, could I ask you regarding the budget, how much have you decreased the Parks and Recreation budget in the present draft budget?
Kevin, didn't you?
I think we've increased it just off the top of my head from beginning to end about $35,000-$40,000.
So you've got 600 grand down by about 35 grand.
Excuse me,
You've got 600 grand being cut by 35 grand, is that what you're saying?
we cut his department probably about 35 grand.
Yeah, from 600.
Is that, what, I don't know offhand where it's at right now. Where's that right now, Jim?
The president's 585.
The 585, we probably was 6.
Yeah, so we're giving the park 600 grand a year, and yet we're cutting 2 police officers from the police force.
Mr. Lamb, once again, I'll ask you, if you want to stop down the word budget, line item by line item, okay? Because Parks and Recreation, that 600,000 isn't spent just in recreation.
I know that.
That's
Well,
this
then
building.
don't sit there and say that.
I just think priorities in the city are all wrong, that's what I think is happening at the
Well,
moment.
that's your personal opinion.
Yes, my opinion, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Someone else have your hand up? Yes, John.
Hi, would it be possible to get a copy of the budget you just passed for each individual department?
Sure.
So I don't have the
Yep.
budget meeting, I know,
That should be downstairs tomorrow,
Is it official yet? Can we be handing it out?
well, you voted on it.
which is the first reading.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
that was just a question.
Yeah, you just have to give her time to get it together. Tara will have it down to the office.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Council members, I normally would ask these questions after, but due to the nature of what I'm asking, probably be best asked with people here and on record. You said a savings of $232,000 for just 2 officers being laid off?
Yes,
Do we know which 2 officers are being laid off yet?
it would be the bottom 2.
Which are those, which 2 are they?
Right now, that would be Mr. Zerby, Officer Zerby, and Officer Heckman. That's all by seniority.
And those changes, those layoffs would be effective January 1st, provided that the final budget passes, correct?
If everything would stay the same, yes.
Okay. What are the chances of that changing over the next month and a half? I guess about a month and a half, 6 weeks, that's the same thing.
Oh, there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance something will change.
Okay. Thank you.
We're gonna do our best, that's what we're here for. Any other questions? Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In the paper, I've been reading about this police pension. Do we have any plan or anything to increase the revenue that we can pay for this in the future?
The police pension has nothing to do with this budget. The police pension is.
No, I realize that.
It's like
but
every
I'm-
other pension in the state of Pennsylvania. We're about at $8.6 million, we're about $800,000 short of being solvent. As pensions are everywhere, you know, they're all in bad shape. Do we have a plan? The state of Pennsylvania tells us what we need to do as far as our contribution, what to put in. Some of the stuff that they're looking at the state level is allowing different ways to invest in this, to freeze what we have now. The state sooner or later will have to do that because, you know, places like Philadelphia are billions of dollars in bad shape. And they're never going to be solvent. So somebody at some point in time has to say, enough is enough, we're going to freeze everything, and here's what the new, be it 401ks, be it some other type of investment, whatever it may be, I don't know that. Maybe they'll get to the point where all the officers have Social Security. Officers don't have Social Security right now, that's one of the reasons the pensions are.
But I was wondering what, now they're gonna, according to the budget, if I understand it correctly, they're gonna be increasing the taxes, a possibility that the property owners will be paying more money.
right?
Are we gonna get another raise in our taxes to help pay for this pension down the road?
No, it doesn't work that way. That's what I'm
Doesn't
saying,
work
it's
that way.
already built in the budget. What, if the state says, here's an X amount of dollars you have to pay, that's what we pay, and every year they tell us, and that's what we put in there. That's one of the reasons it went up about $63,000 this year. Some years it's more than others, it depends on what the state puts the major contribution in, and it's based on all communities in the state of Pennsylvania, not just the city of Sunbury, so
Aren't we
everybody gets a
almost at a
percentage.
point where they can't raise taxes anymore on us?
We're pretty close to that, that's why tonight we talked about 2 mills and not more than that. But
Because
that,
the
we'll be looking
property
at what
owner-
we can and cannot do.
The property owner carries the bulk of everything. It shouldn't always be on the property owner, and that's the way it seems to be. Whenever we're in trouble, we'll raise the taxes, we'll raise the taxes.
We've been
We're living
fortunate.
on a limited income too, we don't have a chance to raise more money. We have to live on what we get from Social Security, maybe some people don't even get pensions. They have to make do with what they get. We're gonna have to, somewhere down along the line, we're gonna have to run the city like the property owner has to run their property. We're gonna, well, the money we have, we're gonna have to deal with and live and do within our budget.
Well, and that's what we're talking, that's what we discuss every time we have a meeting. That's part of it, that's part of it. That's the difference between people losing jobs and not. But we've been fortunate to go for five years without a tax increase.
Yes, I realize that.
Which is a long time, but that's not, people don't care about that, which is what we're doing now. And I agree with you, and we gotta find a comfortable medium in there, somewhere in between there, and see what we can do.
Dave,
Thank you. Yes, John?
I just want to reinforce that the police pension has affected this year's budget in the amount of $53,000. And that's part of the increase. Dave is correct when he stated that. And also that it's in the budget. We were obligated to pay it. Hopefully, we will have some kind of pension reform. We have a new contract coming up next year. Hopefully, we can maybe address part of it at that point. But it is a major expense for the city, there's no doubt.
Yes,
What's the expected tax revenue increase from the 2 mills, dollar figure?
120,000.
115. 115.
It's
about 115.
What's your name?
Jennifer Wakeman, WB. Yep.
Again?
Regina Russell, community activist. Earlier this week, the Daily Item reported that there were grants denied, and you are asking for Linda Culver to find out why. Can you tell us what grants were denied?
I think you're talking about the Chester Street project. You know what she's talking about?
That was some of them then for your lighting, your
For the
traffic
R
signals.
grant, yeah. Yeah.
We put in for tons of grants. Every grant we get our hands on, we apply for them, and you just don't get some of them. So sometimes you need to go to Linda Culver or Senator Gordon or wherever we can. And that's all we're doing.
And she will be reporting that, what the reasons were?
Yeah, we gave her documentation, asked her if she could look into that for us. and get-
I actually, excuse me,
Yeah.
to Terry, we requested a meeting. Terry will probably be there, hopefully I can make it, or anybody else on council. Jamie Schroeder, Linda, I don't know if you go to Senator Gordon or not, but we requested